What's up, everybody? Welcome to this exciting playoff edition $2 Sports podcast coming to you on Wednesday night. Game 2, Grizz Lakers tips off in just over an hour. And so Uncle Buck and I are recording a little bit earlier tonight, trying to get it in before the game. So Uncle Buck, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, Buckets? Anybody watching on the YouTube stream here knows what time of the year it is. It's playoff time, and
yes,
we're going to get into it in a little bit. We're going to dive into what we thought about Game 1 and what we see coming for Game 2. But nothing else matters for the next however long the Grizzlies are in the playoffs other than the Grizzlies being in the playoffs. So 6:30 tip tonight. We've got an hour and 7 minutes to get this thing done. So shorter podcast tonight. I would like to tell everybody that we're coming to you earlier in the night this Wednesday night. I wish it wasn't for basketball purposes, but that Rusty just missed me so much because we recorded what was it? We recorded on Monday night last weekend.
Last Monday.
Week. So We've gone like 10 days without him seeing me, and he was just blowing my phone up. Dude, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? So I was like, yeah, I guess we'll just record earlier. I get to watch the game, and you get your fix,
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. It wasn't the fact that I was sending out an APB SOS, whereas Uncle Buck on Sunday, because I hadn't heard from him in several days because of some other happenings that we'll get into a little bit later in the podcast. And Uncle Buck, you went out of town again this weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, my mother-in-law's birthday is coming up, and so my wife and her siblings decided to go all out on this one. And so we took a quick 3-night trip to Panama City Beach, Florida. And I'm telling you, Rusty, I've been to the beach many times. My dad is one that can't go 6 weeks without feeling the sand in his toes. And so that was the only vacations we took as a kid. We were going to the beach. So I've been to the beach, and I've been to the beach a lot. However, I think weather-wise, this was like the best trip I've ever been on to the beach. It was 75 degrees and sunny and perfect. I mean, I've been to the beach when it's 95 and hot and the water's warm. I've been to the beach in November over Thanksgiving before. We've done that trip before, and it was miserable. This is the first time I've been when it was 75. I mean, it just seemed to me like peak, ultimate beach weather. The water was chilly, but not too cold. It was awesome. We had a great time.
Good, man. Glad y'all got away, got some downtime.
And you had a little outing of your own this weekend, didn't you?
I did. Had some really good friends coming to town. Prior to last Wednesday, I only knew 3 of the 6 that were coming into town, or 7 that were coming into town, but got to know them over the course of the last few days, and just some really great people. So like we talked about last week, had a golf trip this weekend and a bachelor party light for our buddy Aaron, who came in town from Boston this past weekend. There's a house on Pawleys Island. There was golf played. Ate at a great restaurant called Frank's. Had some really, really good time, man. Played with a couple really good golfers. I told him I'd give them a shout out, so I'll give you a quick rundown of our golfers and then one funny story from last week.
Let's hear it.
Oh, yeah. So Jake, my buddy, Jake Matthews from Maine, my 1 year that I spent in Maine when I was in high school, met this guy. We hit it off. We've stayed more or less in touch for the last 21 years, and he's came down a few times. I've been to Boston to visit him. Just a really solid friend, good dude, and a good golfer. If he could have putted this weekend, he would have had some really nice scores, and he'll tell you that too. He left a lot of putts to be desired, as he would say.
One of my favorite sayings in golf, when you're not doing well on the greens, is one I heard from you. And one time I hit a putt short, and you said, "Hit it with your purse next time, Patsy." So
I did.
I use that one frequently.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I'm always. It seems like the first few holes, I'm always tentative with the putter, and I'm always like 6 feet short of the hole because I'm not approaching within 6 feet ever.
Yeah.
And then the next few holes, I'm like blazing it past it because I'm like I'm not going to be short.
Jake would miss by inches. It would get right up to the cup and then fall off, or fall just short, or dip just past, or he just had bad
counts.
luck.
We don't. Yeah. If you're playing with me, we don't play. You got to get it in the hole. You got to get it
close,
chip shot away, and then Give
It's
it
a
to me.
circle of friendship. But yeah, so Jake was in town. Great dude. He brought his brother-in-law, Charlie, who might have one of the best golf swings I've ever seen. Just pure at every ball. I mean, he came in, and from what I heard from Jake, he was upset that his handicap got above 2 on this trip. That kind of a golfer. Just
Oh,
like,
see, I thought you were being a little sarcastic there. No,
no,
you're being for real.
no. He hits the ball with a purpose. When I hit a golf ball, I'm just as surprised as those that I'm playing with as to where it goes. When he hits a golf ball, it goes exactly where he wants it to go. On the 18th green of the last hole, we're all sitting around watching, and he throws an absolute dart that just sticks, bounces up, and then stays right where it is within like a 6 or 8 foot birdie putt. I watched him eagle a really tough hole and just thought, man, I'm outclassed by this one.
My favorite golf moment of my life, my personal favorite golf moment. I think you probably know what I'm talking about.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, we're at Hillendale on 18 in Corinth, and they've got that greenside bunker, and Rusty hits it in the bunker, and I had just gotten through playing golf with our good buddy Aaron Ivy, who we're going to have to talk to maybe next week to get our Will Levis update.
Absolutely.
And he had taught me how to hit out of the bunker, spread your feet, dig yourself in a lot, and swing harder than you think. Yeah, hit it harder than you think, and get enough sand to where you don't actually hit the ball, flop it up there. So I was being cocky because I'd done it a couple times weeks ago with Aaron. I let Rusty hit it out, and I think he hit it up to the pro shop up there.
I got on the green. Thank you very much.
And so I said, Rusty, come on, and I'm talking a big game, like I really know what I'm going to do. And I throw the ball in there. I'm like, you just spread your feet a little wider, you shorten up your club, you hit it harder than you think. And really just, I was, really just, swagging, using the swag method,
more than anything. Yeah.
And I hit the most beautiful bunker shot I've ever hit. Hold it out from that greenside bunker. And of course, I went running around the course like I had never done it before. But I told Rusty, I was like, I told you I was gonna make it. I told you I was gonna make it. It's the only time I've ever hold anything out in my life.
Dumb.
It wasn't even my ball. I was showing Rusty how to hit his ball.
Yeah. But yeah, Charlie was striping him. Another guy named Charles who came down last year, had the worst time getting here. He got to Logan Airport Wednesday morning to fly down up in Boston at 3:45 and didn't leave the airport on his flight until after 8 p.m. Spirit just messed up. They had a plane that broke. They had to build another plane. They had to train a flight crew. They ran out of gas. It was just like a comedy of errors before he could finally get there late Wednesday night. The way we knew he arrived was he sent us a picture of his golf clubs at 1 a.m. prior to an 8 a.m. tee time the next morning. And that's what you get for flying Spirit.
That's the point I was going to make. If you're going to spend a weekend with Rusty, you cannot afford to fly home any other way other than Spirit. Because, if you're with Rusty, you're living the high life.
Yeah, something like that. Then, like I said, the Bachelor Aaron, great guy, hit some really good shots, good golfer, really is. Plays Australian League football up in Boston, Australian rules football up in Boston. Great dude, works for DraftKings, just solid guy. Ryan was another one. He's a graduate of Texas A&M, and then he got his grad degree from Tulane. So he told me on the porch Saturday night that he had disowned A&M while they had Bobby Petrino and Jimbo Fisher, and I said, hey, we're gonna have to get you on the podcast to talk about A&M when we do our SEC preview because I want to hear more about this. And he claimed his graduate school last year, Tulane, and rode their coattails all the way to a Cotton Bowl victory. So Ryan, again, good golfer, good dude as well. Let's see who we got. Bailey. Bailey was awesome. The one girl in our group, she and I were cart buddies. Bailey, you're a gem. Had a great time playing with her. We both got the yips there for a couple holes on at Willbrook, where we both just didn't know what was going wrong. We just knew it wasn't going right. But found a way to get it back together and finish strong there at Willbrook. Had a great time with her. Guy named Chris, financial consultant out in Boston. First time meeting him, he has a Rory McIlroy-esque swing, and I know he needs a lot of positive affirmation. So, Chris, you hearing that? I hope that's good for you, man, because he swings out of his shoes. Violent golf swing and hits that ball right in the face. Absolutely mashes it. Just tremendous swing. Good guy, good golfer. Had a lot of fun with him. And then on the last day, we had his buddy Tim in the Army. stationed in Savannah, come up and join us for our last round. So I had a great time with those guys. Really played some good golf. Beautiful courses, beautiful weather. Couldn't have asked for better weather. It had just a little bit of rain, but it was just enough to knock the humidity down, make the greens more receptive, as Jake would say. But yeah, great group, great group. My favorite part of the trip, and we can move on after this, was we played Caledonia first, which is like the premier course. Aaron came up and he and I played it when he came up here one time, like the nice course in Pawleys Island. And we noticed that there was a porch up there, and I told him about it. It's a great place to have a drink, watch the sun go down. But what you can also do is you're overlooking the 18th green. So it's a great opportunity to heckle or cheer on or boo golfers as they approach the 18th green. So we said, we're going to come back
like
later this week.
16 at the Waste Management?
Dude, we got there, man. Let me tell you. So we played a different course on Saturday. We came back, and we all got drinks and cigars and hung out on the back porch overlooking the 18th green and heckled golfers for the better part of 4 hours. And it started with just the 8 of us. And then it grew. As we would heckle a group, they'd come off, finish their round. They'd come up and be like, hey, that was great. Can we join y'all? We're like, absolutely. Drew, this thing grew to like 40 people on this porch, cheering, booing, heckling golfers. There was a wedding going on, so we got quieted down for about 20 minutes while the bride walked down the aisle. And once my 20-minute timer on my watch went off, we went right back to being rowdy. And had a group from Long Island come up, and so these guys did a poor shot, and you'd hear this guy with the thick Long Island accent go, come on, and it would echo throughout the golf course. Great time, man. We had this one guy hit a shot probably in his 60s. He was probably 200 out in Pine Straw, and then of that 200, probably 160 is over water. Absolutely stripes this golf ball, puts it within 12 feet, and we all just go ballistic. And then he walks up and leaves his 12-foot putt short.
Yeah.
But had a great time heckling golfers. Felt like a true golf fan. And like I said, I spent the better part of 4 hours there.
There you go. Sounds like you had a good weekend.
It was, man. Good weekend. Good time with good people, and looking forward to doing a fall trip up to New England to play some golf in Southern Maine with those guys. Really, and Bailey. Really great time. Looking forward to it for sure.
All right. Well, we've got a lot to get to. So, we're going to start with the Grizzlies, I assume, right?
Let's go. How about them Grizz in the playoffs? An ugly game one, but I'm feeling pretty confident about tonight, Drew. What do you think? Especially, oh, no.
Yeah, I was just about to tell you. So it's a little bit of breaking news, live breaking news here at the podcast. The Grizzlies will take on the Lakers tonight at 6:30 Central Time in Game 2 while being down 0-1, and they will do it without their star point guard, Ja Morant. One 12-ski, one Ja Morant, who today had his first line of signature basketball shoe released to the public, is going to be watching on the bench for Game 2.
Next to Steven Adams. That hurts, man. It really does. You know, Ja has not been the one since he came back. He said in his first interview back that he was not going to be the man anymore, and we really needed him to step up into that role. His average point totals had gone down over the last few games, but we really needed him, to step into that role. So,
well, let me ask you about that. Let's dive into that psychology a little bit, because it's been kind of fascinating to me, and it's to me it's the sign of he's had a very troubled year.
Yeah.
And it's not been injuries. It's been an injury or two, a lingering. Tonight will be an injury. This has been a season that it will not be remembered for him personally by anything that happens shy of a Western Conference Final appearance.
Yeah.
What will be remembered is his incident and the mistake that he made and the price that he paid for it, missing 8 games plus. That suspension will cost him $40 million because he will not make an All-NBA team this year, despite deserving so. All the voters, from what I've heard and what I've read and podcasts I've listened to, the deciding factor between him and guys like De'Aaron Fox or Steph or Damian Lillard, who missed significantly more games, the tiebreaker went to the guy who didn't pull out a gun in a nightclub.
Yep.
And that's going to cost him $40 million. And when he came back, during the times that he left, the Grizzlies got right. They were winning a lot of games. They won most of the games. It's when they really started flexing their muscles a little bit on offense and really locked in. And in that time period, they virtually locked up the number 2 seed with Ja on the bench. And then Ja came back and said what you said earlier, that he's going to have to You know, he's going to try to step back. I can't be the only alpha here. And
Right.
to me, I think what he saw is he saw the team winning. He saw the team winning without them, and he got shy.
Yep.
And he's looked shy since. But what
Yeah.
we've needed is Ja to be Ja. It's no doubt that this team is good without Ja, but a good job can make this team great.
Right.
This team tonight, I'll go on the record and say this team without Ja tonight would probably beat a team with an injured Ja playing through it tonight.
Yeah.
I think this is being handled with a bunch of precaution, but the psyche of Ja Morant makes me nervous because you could tell in the post-game interview after Sunday afternoon's game, the loss in Game 1 to the Lakers, when he fell late in that game and didn't come in, and they interviewed him afterwards, he was dejected, man.
Yep. He even said just feels like another thing.
Yeah, it's always something.
Yeah.
And he's right. And it does always seem to be something. However, let's not paint him into what he isn't. He's not a bad kid. But he is a kid that's going through it right now, and it feels like no matter what move he makes, it's biting him in the rear.
Exactly.
And so we really need to get this win tonight, get him healthy, and really, he's going to have to shake those inner demons a lot. He's going to have to exercise those and exercise them quick, especially if you go down 0-2 and head to Los Angeles on Friday.
Exactly. And, seeing him dejected and hurt in that interview was tough. It was tough to watch a kid who's, like you said, been going through it this year.
And I mean, he's 24 years old. Imagine that's the same thing that I kept going back to, and I'm going to shut up, Rusty. It's the thing that I kept going back to is that these decisions that he's making, if you drop that much money into my hands at 19 to 21 years old, 19 to 23 years old, I'm going to make those same mistakes, if not worse.
Absolutely.
And to carry a family, you're the breadwinner for your family, for your city, for your friends. I mean, the mistake was on him, but he sounds like a guy who really just needs to catch a break.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that this, the guys rally around him. He sees it as just a minor setback and doesn't let it completely deject him. But, we've talked about this numerous times on this podcast. Our team truly goes as Jaren Jackson Jr. goes. So we're really going to need a big game out of Tripp, your newly crowned Defensive Player of the Year, in some positive news for our Grizz. He had a good game in Game 1. He played really well, defended AD well, had some blocks, had some points, played, a decent, really a good game.
He was incredible.
Finished 31 points. He had he had 5 rebounds. He had 2 blocks, so 3 stocks. He had a great Game 1, but we're going to need even more out of him tonight.
And I would go as far as to say is Jaren Jackson Jr. was the best player on the court for both teams on Sunday. He was absolutely incredible. In the fourth quarter, he had 2 fouls. He ended with 3. And he guarded Anthony Davis.
That's the biggest thing is he really stepped up in a game that mattered. He didn't get in foul trouble. He didn't make mistakes on the defensive end. He made plays when they counted and looked like a mature NBA player. It wasn't the Jaren making mistakes back in March and back in February. It was Jaren making great basketball plays, making brilliant decisions on and off the ball, and he looked the part of an all NBA player.
Yeah, and so let's just go back to Game 1 for a second. You could feel the energy in the grindhouse. Yeah. I mean, from the get-go, it was loud. And it didn't look good early. We got down early. Anthony Davis was absolutely incredible early in that game. What Anthony Davis does, though, is he disappears for a while. And what the Lakers were able to do, because the Grizzlies, they started Xavier Tillman, that allowed Anthony Davis just to roam defensively underneath the basket. And he was swatting everything. I think he ended the game with 5 blocks. He had 3 blocks in the first quarter, it felt like. The lack of shooting for the Grizzlies, perimeter shooting, and allowing him to just hang out with Xavier Tillman really hurt them early.
Yeah.
Now, the Grizzlies got back, and they were down by 4 points when Ja went out 4 minutes ago in the game. And at that point, it was they threw in the towel. I mean, it was another shot to the chest. I mean, you can't quit on a game at home, game 1 of the playoffs, and that's what they did. But they were just so dejected, and I left that game. And Rusty, I want you to tell me what you think afterwards, how you felt after the game was over. After the game was over, I thought everything was fine. As long as Ja's fine, everything is fine. Because what you got is you got a combined, 55 points, 60 points from Rui Hachimura, who did not miss a three the whole game. I think he went 6 for 6 from 3. And Austin Reeves, who was just incredible. He had, I think it was low to mid 20s.
Yeah, 23. Hachimura had 29, and Hachimura was 5 for 6 from 3.
5 for 6. Okay. And so you look at LeBron James. He had 21 points, I think. And Anthony Davis had a good night, not a great night.
Yeah,
but the difference, the difference in that game, in a win and a loss, was Hachimura and Austin Reeves. And Austin Reeves is good. Hachimura caught fire.
Yeah.
And that had to be the game plan. Because Hachimura coming off the bench, he's the guy that the Grizzlies want to take shots.
Yeah.
Just like everybody does with Dylan Brooks. If Dylan Brooks is going to beat us, then the Grizzlies are going to beat us. If Hachimura was going to beat us, but we're not going to let LeBron and Anthony Davis beat us.
Right.
And we didn't let LeBron and Anthony Davis beat us. But
No.
Rui Hachimura blew up on us. That
was my biggest takeaway. Leaving the game, I was just like you. As long as Ja's okay, we'll be okay. Even without Ja, I'm not as confident, but I still don't hate our chances tonight. But if we don't have Ja, if we don't have Ja, I wouldn't pick us to win the series. I would not, in no circumstance do I think they sweep or beat us in 5. No.
I think the series goes 6 either way.
Yeah. I agree.
Without Ja.
But my biggest takeaway was the Lakers aren't going to shoot 43% from 3 ever again in this series. That's not going to happen. Hachimura is not going to pour in 5 of 6. Austin Reeves is not going to be chanting, I'm him at the top of the key making all these shots. As good as he is, 43% from 3s doesn't happen unless you're Luke Kennard. And so I don't think they're going to shoot that way again. I think that they're going to come back down to earth. Tonight's going to be a grind. It's going to be a close game again. And for all intents and purposes, Sunday was a close game until it got away late. I mean, it was like you said, 4-point game when Ja got hurt. They scored. They went on a 15-0 run there at the end. And John, I'm sure you saw it. Jinx was pissed. He called that timeout with 30 seconds to go and blistered them for their defensive effort.
Yeah, the Lakers were not 16 points better than the Grizzlies on Sunday.
No.
And I'll tell you this. The Lakers had 23 from Reeves, 29 from Hachimura, and the Grizzlies had Dez had 22 points, but he was 3 of 10 from 3.
Yeah.
And our boy Luke Kennard was 1 of 4 from 3. Yeah. Neither of those are going to happen again.
No.
So what you're looking at here is I'm throwing out the last 10 points or so. They beat us by 16. Let's say they beat us by 6 because of that last run when Ja went out. If it's a 6-point game in game 1 with Bane and Kennard combining for 4 of 14 from 3 and Hachimura going 5 of 6 from 3, then we're going to make up that 6 points.
I agree. And, we had a terrible night. The only 2 players with a positive plus-minus for the Grizz were Luke Kennard and David Roddy. Nobody else really had a good night. We struggled from the field. We shot 36% from 3. Tough night for the Grizz. That's not going to be repeated. I think tonight we come out with a vengeance. I think, we come out for Ja. I think we played better tonight. And I'll go out on a limb and say we win tonight. I think we get game 2. It goes back 1-1 to L.A., we struggle on the road. That's no secret, but getting Ja back, hopefully for game 3 or 4 will be helpful. And I just keep hoping every time that injury report comes out, and I know it's a vain imagination, that we're going to see Steven Adams questionable or doubtful.
I don't understand what they're doing with him.
It just seems like it really seems, and I've been thinking about this a lot. they're slow playing it. And while this wasn't the front office that got burned by Chandler Parsons, this feels like a byproduct of getting burned by a player in the past with a bum knee. And it feels like the Grizz are being extra careful, extra gun shy, because Steven is competing some at practice. He's not in full contact, but he's taking shots. He's running the floor. He's moving well in practice. But it feels like the Grizz are being extra cautious. And there's some grumblings in the media that I'm reading on Twitter that, like, hey, like, give the guy a shot. He's tough. He wants to play. Why is he running in practice and you're not giving him some game minutes?
I get the feeling that if this were the regular season, he would have been, if he were on 25 other teams, he'd be playing.
Yeah.
And I know what they're doing. Let's be real about the Grizzlies right now. They're back-to-back 2 seeds in the West. They are still the second youngest team in the league.
Yep.
Steven Adams just signed a new contract that'll keep him here for 3 or 4 more years. They are looking at this realistically, not emotionally. And they're looking at this saying our superstar point guard is 24. Our defensive player of the year postman is 24. Mm-hmm. Our 2 guard of the future, Desmond Bane, is 25. I mean, everybody's young. This is not our championship window. If you look at the NBA historically, the best player on championship teams is 27 or above.
Yep.
LeBron didn't win a championship till his 27 or above. The only exception, and this research was done by Chris Vernon. He was talking about it the other day, so I'll give him credit. The only exception to that rule is Giannis, and he was 26. Yeah. So this is not our window, and they see that, and they're not going – now, Steven Adams, I mean, make that decision, hold Ja out, don't risk a knee injury with a worse knee injury with Ja or Jaren or – I mean, Steven Adams is Steven Adams, he keeps his feet on the ground the whole time. So, right. And that's what they're doing. They're being safe, and they're being cautious, and they're playing smart, not emotionally. But for the fans, we're here.
Yeah, we in this.
Yeah, we're
with you. Our play. We're with this. Yeah. We're with us. Like, we're here. Memphis versus everybody. Like, give him some minutes, man. That's where we're getting beat continuously is in rebounding. We're getting outclassed. Let's see. In game 1, the Lakers had 35 rebounds and we had 28. They had 45 rebounds and we had 34. We got out rebounded by 11 rebounds. And that doesn't happen when Steven Adams is on the floor, even if it's abbreviated minutes, even if it's a limited time. Having Steven Adams on the floor is a difference maker, especially on the offensive end with those putback points that he gets.
Well, and I watched that game and thought that the Lakers looked super sloppy. They went through stretches where they turned the ball over forever.
Absolutely.
For every possession. And the Grizzlies did that too. Ja had 2 assists and 6 turnovers. What nobody is talking about is Ja was bad on Sunday.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it was emotion. I don't know if it was within his own head. It obviously was. He was out of it for some reason.
Yeah.
But I know he had his hand taped up didn't catch why.
He had a hand injury coming into the game where he had injured it in a previous game like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it'd been taped and braced, and then this was like a further exacerbation of it.
Yeah, and so he was low-key bad, and we were matching their turnovers with our turnovers, which is just not what we do.
No.
And so
usually when the other team's turning the ball over, that's when we're running the floor and beating you.
That's the reason why we have so much success with teams like Golden State. They run and gun, and Jordan Poole will throw the ball to the fan in the 4th row at least twice a game.
Yeah.
And we capitalize on that because we like to move and we like to get out in transition.
Right.
And we just wouldn't let them kill themselves for the longest.
Yep.
And so that's the reason why I said earlier in the podcast that if Josh sits tonight, which turns out he is, a unhealthy Ja is not as good as a fully healthy Tyus right now.
Yeah.
Against a team that we know is going to turn the ball over.
Yep.
So don't kill yourself. I I just checked according to ESPN, and I don't know what sports book. I think they probably use Caesars. Lakers are a 1-point favorite at home against the Grizzlies.
Yep.
I would love to hammer that. The Grizzlies money line.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the difference in -1 and money line probably isn't a whole lot.
Absolutely. I would take
I can't
Grizz
gamble.
outright.
I can't gamble in sports in Mississippi. We can only do daily fantasy here.
Yeah,
so
South Carolina either.
Yeah, so I also don't take especially Rusty's gambling advice.
Yeah.
So we've watched enough Grizzlies basketball without Ja that I can speak confidently saying that we're better than
okay. We're okay without Ja because
Don't kill yourself.
Because that's what I was just about to say. For Tyus is a floor general. He doesn't turn the ball over the last. I heard it in a podcast the other day, and I meant to write it down. And so forgive me for not knowing the exact number, but he leads the NBA over the last couple of years in turnover per minute, points scored versus turnovers. Like, he leads in all those statistical categories because he takes really good care of the basketball. He steps up and scores when he needs to. And I mean, he's a walking bucket some nights. There's been so many. How many times he had a double and without when Ja's out? I mean, he steps up when the moment's big, and he's our new captain clutch. You know, he can score some points when needed.
He is at his best. He is the best backup point guard that I have ever seen as a Memphis Grizzly, and there's not a close second. To be honest. Yeah. He is a really, really awesome point guard.
Yes.
By NBA standards when Morant's out.
Yes.
I'll leave this Grizzlies conversation with a message that I just got from my good buddy Patrick Jones in our group message. He said, and I quote, he's a great philosopher, Morant is out, LeBron will pout, water spout. Who cares? Grizz in 5. So, yeah, we're here. Grizz in 5. I still believe it. I tried my hardest to get some Ja ones today. Did you give it a shot?
I did, but by the time I got there, man, all the 13s were gone.
Listen, the only shoe I could have bought today was a size 18, and I passed.
Yeah.
So.
No thanks. I want to put a pair up on the wall, but not a size 18 yet. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, I kind of want to buy 2 pairs, just have one pair on the wall and one to wear.
Right. One to wear.
The only ones that came out today were the Ja Day ones. It was the kind of the powderish blue with the pink and yellow sole.
I'm waiting on those scratch editions, man. The scratch edition's what I want.
I was going to buy the day ones if I could get them today, just because they're the first ones. And I would have worn them, and I would have worn them proudly. They're not too loud. They're pale colors, not bright pink. So I'd have worn it, and I'd have worn it proudly. But
there you go.
Yeah, the scratch ones are.
But I'm calling it right now. Double for Tyus. We see a lot of David Roddy tonight. David Roddy didn't get very much playing time in game 1. I think we get a lot of David Roddy tonight, and I think the Grizz pull out the victory, and we go back to LA 1-1.
Yeah. I don't know how it happens. I know that having Xavier Tillman in the lineup is a disservice to the team and to Xavier Tillman as a person. Mm-hmm. You know, he doesn't offer enough floor spacing to be. Yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis is just going to be on him all night or off of him all night.
So much more athletic. He's just so big and athletic. It's hard for X to keep up. X is best in that role coming off the bench.
Yeah, so we need to go small. I would love to see a lineup that looks like Tyus, Bane, Dillon, Roddy, Tripp, or
Tripp Santi.
That's what it's going to be. Nah, Santi got barbecued last game. He can't handle. He offers a little bit more floor spacing with his 3-point shot,
but he is
a target on defense.
Yeah,
you're right. They headhunt him on defense. He'll be in every pick and roll all night long.
You're right. That gives us our best defensive lineup, and yeah, I agree. Go Grizz. I think we do it tonight. So Grizz coming up in about a little over 30 minutes. So we'll talk about the other pressing issues on our podcast. So first up, an update on the SEC baseball standings and some changes over the past few days. Drew, anything else last minute? Anything else you want to talk about the Grizz before we change directions?
No. We are 34 minutes away from liftoff, and so yeah.
So let's get right.
That's all I've got for Grizzlies. Hats off to you, Jaren Jackson. I thought they were going to steal it from you. Oh, this is what I want to tell you. You want to talk about Defensive Player of the Year just for a second?
Yeah, I know you have some stats on that.
So it slipped my mind as we were talking about playoffs. Jaren Jackson Jr., as we said, was awarded the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't exactly close. Me and Rusty talked in last week that it just seemed like they were trying to find a way for the Nerds to give the award to someone else who had played more minutes. Turns out that wasn't the case, and so here's how the voting results went for the Jaren Jackson Jr. got 391 total points. So a first place vote is worth 5 points. A second place vote is worth 3 points. Third place vote is worth 1 point. So Jaren Jackson Jr. had 56 of 100 possible first place votes. Brooke Lopez finished second. He got 31 first place votes, and Jaren beat him 391 total points to 309, a difference of 82 points. And it seemed pretty decisive to me, given the fact that I was not sure that he was going to win it, you know?
Yeah.
And so what I did is I looked back in years past and looked at the winners and kind of the margin of victory over their competitors over second and third place.
Mm-hmm.
The closest one I found, really, I went back to 2018, and the Jaren Jackson Jr. margin of victory is the second closest margin of victory. In years past, it had been much more lopsided. The only exception last year, Marcus Smart, in which everybody kind of knew that one there was no really lead candidate there.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Smart won it with 37 first place votes.
Yep.
Over Mikal Bridges, who had 22, and Rudy Gobert had 12. It was a difference in 55 total points for Marcus Smart over Mikal Bridges. Yeah, that one kind of came out of nowhere, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And he was also the first guard to win it since like Gary Payton, I think.
I think you're right.
Something like that. And so going back the next year, Rudy Gobert got 84 of possible 100 first place votes. Just smashed Ben Simmons. He would finish second and got 15 of the remaining 16 possible first place votes. But the year before that, Anthony Davis got 75 of 100 first place votes over Rudy Gobert, got 14. Rudy Gobert got 65 first place votes in 2019. And in 2018, Rudy Gobert won. So he won in 18 and 19 and 21. But in 2018, he got 89 of 100 first place votes.
Wow.
And he had a 303 point gap over second place Joel Embiid. And so it kind of seemed like Jaren ran away with it. And it seemed that way because we weren't sure that he was actually going to get it. But if you look over the past, there were some big blowouts. And I'd say that if Jaren Jackson Jr. was comparable in minutes to guys like Brooke Lopez, then he would have gotten 75 to 80 first place votes. But
absolutely,
you know the argument there. So
all
right, let's get on past the NBA. That was just a little fun fact that I looked up today.
College baseball. So some wild times in college baseball. Last night was a weird night. There were some upsets last night. We'll start there. We'll work our way back. Mississippi State had their game canceled last night with Southern. Southern actually canceled the game.
Oh, why?
Because of
field conditions.
Nope, they had to make up a SWAC conference game. Last night was the only night they could get it in because they had one canceled the previous night. But Mississippi State did not cancel the game. It was Southern that canceled the game. Not like our
they didn't cancel it because they were scared. So.
Not like our infamous in-state rivals. But last night wasn't a good night to play if you're in the SEC. Tennessee got hammered by Tennessee Tech, 12-5.
Ooh, that name gives me chills.
Georgia beat Clemson last night. Clemson's a good baseball team this year. Missouri State gave Missouri everything they wanted, and Missouri won late 7-6. Alabama lost to UAB in extras 4-3. The biggest shocker of the night, Indiana State, famous alum
Larry Bird
beat Vanderbilt.
Another famous alum
from Indiana State.
Yeah.
Who?
He's a Grizzly. Oh, I've stumped him.
Yeah, hang on.
He's not an alum. He transferred out and played basketball at Wake Forest.
Why am I drawing a blank?
He's a rookie. Jake LaRavia.
LaRavia, thank you. Absolutely. Jake LaRavia.
Started at Indiana State, went to Wake Forest.
About that. Yep. But they beat Vandy last night 10-2, just hammered 11 hits to 6. Absolutely hammered them. Arkansas State and Ole Miss were tied late. Ole Miss pulled away 6-3.
Pulled away against Arkansas State.
Yeah. And then another big shocker, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, who Mississippi State split a series with, but still, beat LSU last night 8-5. Had 14 hits against your number one LSU Tiger baseball team. Probably a good thing we didn't play last night.
Yeah, I mean, if the trend held, y'all would have lost for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Is the phrase "it's baseball" too cliche, or are cliches a cliche for a reason? You know,
I don't.
We're halfway through like a 60-game season.
Yeah. And you're playing all your scrubs in the midweek this week because you're in the middle of the SEC, the thick of the SEC schedule, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, do you have the SEC schedule up by any chance? If not, I can look at it.
I've got it pulled up.
But the point I'm making is, so Vanderbilt lost to Indiana State on a Tuesday. Do you think they were focusing on that game, or do you think they were focusing on this week's opponent?
Yep.
You know, they got an SEC series at Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you're thinking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Conversely, what do you think Tennessee's thinking about when they're playing Tennessee Tech?
Absolutely.
Vanderbilt coming to the house. Tennessee team that just fell out of the standings, by the way, and their RPI because of that loss dropped 16 points.
They're 38 in the RPI now. 30 after this was a preseason darling to be, one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country.
Yeah, nothing makes me happier.
Yeah.
The tweet that keeps coming around, the self-righteous Tennessee, the beat writer who also finds it as his responsibility to toot the horn of Tennessee baseball last year when he tweeted the picture of their outfielder, the guy that got drafted throwing the double birds as he hits the ball off the wall.
Yep.
That picture, and he said Tennessee being the villain has been great and been the best thing that's happened to the game of college baseball ever. That guy that keeps coming up, and just that tweet alone from that self-righteous, and there's a million fans just like him that's saying the same thing. Nothing makes me happier. I mean, winning the College World Series when they were a shoe-in, that made me happier.
Sure.
But outside of that, nothing makes me happy just to see them struggle.
Yeah, and they're probably going to get dump truck by a very hot Vanderbilt team this weekend. Speaking of in that vein of Tennessee, did you happen to see Paul Skeen's quote today?
Yeah. Listen, you know me. I'm going to be consistent. I say this when I'm not talking about Ole Miss, and I'm going to say the same thing about people that are playing Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Skeens, for everybody who hasn't heard, basically, when asked about the Ole Miss series this weekend, he said, I don't think they'll be having many beer showers.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of y'all who are hanging through this college baseball conversation without realizing what a beer shower is in relation to Ole Miss, props to you. You must really love me and Rusty. But Ole Miss students throw beer in the air every time they hit a home run. So Paul Skeens basically saying, oh, they're not going to hit any home runs this weekend. And Paul Skeens is probably right, because Ole Miss does not hit many home runs.
No.
They've got one person. They've got one person with double-digit home runs this year.
Yeah.
And so
he's not one that I would want to trifle with. Kemp Alderman, I would not want to throw anything close to the plate after a quote like that.
No, he picked up a save last night throwing 94.
Yeah.
So, and so, yeah, I mean, listen, I'll say it. I'll be consistent. I appreciate a good trash talker.
Yeah.
But, and it's the thing I've said about the Grizzlies, I love the fact that the Grizzlies chirp. They're good. They're young. They're mouthy. And they back it up. But the moment you don't back it up, you better take your medicine.
Yep.
And Paul Skeens, I'll say the same thing to him. I was going to root against him regardless of whether he played Ole Miss this weekend or the Taliban. I hate LSU. I'm not pulling for him.
Nope.
However, go out there and shove it. Be cocky. Or get shelled and take your medicine.
Yeah. And because of that, hot take, LSU's reeling a bit. Ole Miss is reeling a
they're
bit.
not.
You're not going to win the series, but I think you can get one game this weekend. I think one game is feasible. It's at home. I think there's a chance y'all can pull out one victory. I think LSU wins the series 2-1, but y'all like get a late, like a Saturday night scrappy kind of win.
Well, that would fit the season so far. We only win the middle game.
Mm-hmm.
Did LSU play Kentucky? They did win that series, right?
They won. They lost one. They got shelled.
They lost on Friday, I know. So okay, yeah. LSU's not reeling. LSU's just fine. However, Ole Miss always plays LSU good. They always play Arkansas good. We've got them at home, and in years past, I would say a good Ole Miss team, a fair Ole Miss team, has a 50-50 shot of beating a really good LSU team if you're playing in Oxford. There's something about that matchup. Arkansas is the same way. It's like there's just an extra energy there. And that's, I've got proof of that, quantitative proof right now, because we're not going this weekend to the home games against LSU, and the tickets are still selling. Ole Miss is 3-12 in the SEC, and it's the hottest ticket in town.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, even
it's
possible. We're gonna get into it here in a minute, but even like last week in Starkville, the all-time on-campus SEC attendance record was set by the two last place teams in the SEC West. Our fans come out, and they come out in force.
Yeah, and there's more to that with Starkville this weekend. I mean, it's the same thing. It's the kind of the same situation with Ole Miss this weekend. Mississippi State set the all-time record, SEC attendance record.
Broke their own record.
Or broke their own record. Okay. One, they have the biggest capacity field in the SEC. It was also Ole Miss and Super Bulldog Weekend.
Sure.
They do this on purpose. It's the same reason why Morgan Wallen is playing Saturday night and Sunday night in Vaught Hemingway Stadium the same weekend that LSU's playing at home.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
It's great planning.
Yeah. And so we're selling our tickets. Just a little sidebar here. They are going to football game policies with parking this weekend. So there's no on-campus parking, and everything off-campus is going to be $40 because of the Morgan Wallen concert.
Oh, my gosh.
And it is going to be mass chaos.
Yeah.
And so I made $300 on 6 tickets, basically 2 tickets for 3 games.
Yeah.
At about $300. And so I wasn't mad about that at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
I'll get some home projects done around here, and everybody else can go fondle the mullet superstar.
Yeah. But speaking of last weekend.
Well, we'll get to it. I warned you yesterday. We talked on the phone. We didn't talk much this weekend because I was on vacation and you were playing golf all weekend. And I called you yesterday and I warned you. I said, we're going to talk about Ole Miss losing the series to Mississippi State.
Yes, we are.
On this podcast.
Yes, we are.
I said, but if you're going to get on this podcast and gloat and puff your chest out and act like you're the best in the world, but you didn't watch the games, I'm going to hang up the call.
And
so
what did I say?
You can take it from there. But if you didn't watch them, we just going to talk about the high points we're going to go on.
The only game I did not watch, in full disclosure, was Friday night. We went out to a nice restaurant called Frank's, had a nice dinner. I had my phone laying on the table watching the game cast, so I technically watched it, but I didn't watch it pitch by pitch.
Right.
Like I did on Saturday and like I did on Sunday. Basically, like the overarching theme of the series was Dakota Jordan, SEC Freshman Player of the Week. Kid is coming into his own as a great baseball player. He hit a 2-run walk-off single on Saturday, hit a titanic home run on Sunday, and just is absolutely
on Friday.
Friday too. He's gone I think it's now up to a 15 game hitting streak. Absolutely tearing the cover off of a baseball right now. It looks like a beach ball coming into him, and he is absolutely wearing it out. Dakota Jordan was the theme of the weekend, played great outfield, again, hit the ball really, really well, and it led to Mississippi State winning a series against Ole Miss, something they've done every year since 2016, that 7 straight series over our in-state rivals. We do play again next week in the Governor's Cup. It doesn't technically count as a conference game.
Disagree. Y'all didn't win the series last year because we won the Governor's Cup. It was 2-2.
No, by our own rules, it's not a conference game. So 7 straight years we've won the series over Ole Miss.
I didn't say you won. I didn't say we tied the conference game. I said the series 2-2.
Won the series.
4 games we played, y'all won half, we won half.
But they're considered and we won a national series and then the Governor's Cup. And you know this. You know it's not a conference game and it doesn't count towards that.
I didn't say it was a conference game. I said it was a game against Mississippi State.
Yeah. Doesn't count.
Is the game in Jackson against Mississippi State any different than 3 games in Starkville against Mississippi State?
You can try and paint this any way you want, but it's been 7 years since you've won a series against us.
No.
7.
We split the series last year, 2-2.
Okay. You want to look at it this way? What's the record in the last 25 games?
Are you counting the Governor's Cup?
Yes. In the last 25 games against Ole Miss, it is 20-5 Mississippi State. Mississippi State has beaten Ole Miss 20 out of the last 25 times, Governor Cup included. Hail State, baby.
Well, I mean, the Governor's Cup doesn't always count. It only counts when I want it to count.
Yeah, 20-5 in the last 25 against our in-state rivals in baseball. Make sure you get that Father's Day card coming out in the month of June because we own Ole Miss baseball. Let's go, Hail State.
Yeah, like I said, I'm glad this is your national championship. To me, it felt the same as.
No, here we go. Typical Ole Miss fan. Yeah. It doesn't matter when we lose, but when you win, it does matter.
Losing to Vanderbilt, it's just like I just have no emotional attachment.
That's typical Ole Miss fan. It doesn't matter when we lose, but when we win, you made shirts about running the SIP when you beat us in football. It absolutely matters. You're sitting over there trying to deflect is 100% what that is.
Oh no, we run the SIP. That was a Lane Kiffin thing. That has nothing to do with Mississippi State. It was a recruiting Mississippi thing.
Run the SIP and what? It ain't recruiting. It ain't football. It ain't baseball. It ain't men's basketball.
It's whatever it needs to be.
Women's basketball right now.
It's whatever looks good on a T-shirt, my friend. Yeah.
It's a tough year to be an Ole Miss fan, that's for sure. And then it got worse today. Your big home run hitting defensive tackle entered the transfer portal today.
I saw that. My beloved Taiwan Malone.
Into the transfer portal. Yeah. Hey, maybe it'll be a sip to state thing, right? Maybe he'll get smart there and come on over. But hey,
I'll tell you this: if he didn't play on this Ole Miss team this year, he ain't gonna play on Mississippi State's team next year.
It'd just be nice to get him Starkville. But
it's one thing, a lot of these two-way players, especially if one of the two ways is football. Football typically sways everything, but it was known with Tyler Malone that he was not going to a school based on football solely, and baseball was not number 2 for him.
Yeah,
it is even at best, and if anything made the decision for him to come to Ole Miss, it was their baseball.
Sure.
Because he does love baseball. He's not one of those that's ever, unless he's changed his mind based on his experience not playing much baseball. Maybe he's realized his future is just not in baseball. That's a possibility. Yeah. But none of his decisions so far have been solely because of football. So whatever school he goes to next is going to have to offer him a baseball scholarship.
Yeah, but tough day to be an Ole Miss fan. Bad weekend to be a beer. Bad weekend to be an Ole Miss fan. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're not that far removed from good times. You know what it's like.
I do. But speaking of that, D1 Baseball came out with their latest Field of 64 projections. And all right. I know you have some thoughts. Let me get it out. It's like
forecasting the weather a month from now.
Listen, I am basing my happiness off of Joe Lenardi and Kendall Rogers right now because Joe Lenardi put us as the last 4 in the tournament. Kendall Rogers is D1 Baseball.
Yeah, I saw that Joe Lenardi came out with his Field of 68 for next March. Yeah, let's get excited, boys.
But Mississippi State, again, we're not a great baseball team. We're still not a great baseball team. We've won 2 series in a row against 2 not great baseball teams either. But we're starting to figure it out. We're playing much better baseball than we were a month and a half ago. We're coming together. Durangelo grew up on Saturday. He had 5 innings pitched, just absolutely Sunday dominated, pitched really, really well. We're coming in. We're kind of coming into our stride when it starts to matter because you have a very winnable series this weekend against Auburn. Have a very good chance to continue that winning before we get into the real teeth of our SEC schedule. And you love to see it. We really are coming into our own, playing great, played our way into contention for a regional, and I do think this team makes a regional. Now we're going to be the 4 seed.
So did Kendall Rogers put you in as a 3 seed?
As the last 4, and no, we're a 4 seed, but we're one of the last 4 in. It was just like
so for us
4.
A last 4 in. That's what Ole Miss. They were the 4th of the last 4 in.
Mm-hmm.
We were a 3 seed, so that's what y'all would be.
Yeah. And we'll probably be a 3 seed in like Coral Gables, or we'll go to Nashville or Wake Forest, and we probably won't make it out of that. But it's still, and we still have a lot of work to do. We got to beat Auburn this weekend. We really need to sweep. If we sweep, we're in a much better place. But can't lose that series, and then have a showing in Hoover. We have a really good chance at being a team in a regional after a really crappy start to a baseball season, and I couldn't be more proud.
All right, so we are 3-12. That means y'all are 5-10.
Yeah, right. Right here. The SEC standing, we're 5-10 in conference play, tied with Auburn, who we play this weekend, and an opportunity to advance.
What does the schedule look like for y'all closing out the season?
So it's tough. It is tough. We've got Auburn this weekend in a 3-game series at Auburn. I think next weekend is Tennessee. Yep, we play at Tennessee the following weekend. Then we really hit the teeth. We've got Tennessee, which is not as daunting as it once was, but it's still Tennessee.
Still good. Still better than Mississippi State right now.
Absolutely. Arkansas comes to town the following weekend. Then I think it's A&M.
You got LSU in there.
LSU. It's LSU the weekend of May 13th. Then we've got A&M the weekend of May 20th. And that, I believe, is our last series before you get Arkansas one more time. That's kind of our it's brutal. We've got a tough
Auburn, Tennessee, LSU, Arkansas, A&M. Y'all ain't getting to 500. Ole Miss ended it at 14-16 and got the last team in. That schedule, y'all, I don't see it. I mean, you're going to have to sweep Auburn.
So here's what you do. You sweep Auburn, then you take 1 from Tennessee, maybe 2. You're going to get swept by LSU. Really good chance you're going to get swept by Arkansas. Maybe you steal 1 in there. Maybe you steal 1 from LSU. Maybe you steal 1 from Arkansas, because we usually play Arkansas really well.
Well, maybe just steal one of those. You may get swept by LSU and you may get swept by Arkansas. If you do, that's 16 losses. That's not 500. That's my point.
Yeah.
And then you've also got series in there against LSU, at Auburn. Now, I know Auburn's not good, but it's at Auburn.
Yeah, I'm not worried about
A&M. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not possible.
Yeah, it's tough. It's an uphill battle.
Comparatively speaking, that's the reason why I thought the Ole Miss series against Mississippi State was so important, and the reason why when we lost on Saturday, I thought our season was over because we had to sweep them. Our schedule,
better club.
Our schedule opens way up after LSU. I mean, there ain't nothing left. I mean, there's no top 25 team left on that schedule.
Y'all already played Arkansas, right?
Yeah. We lost 2 out of 3.
Yep.
And so we were front end heavy. We started with Vanderbilt, and then we played who did we play the second weekend of the year? Florida.
Yeah.
And then Arkansas, and then Mississippi State. So.
Yeah.
And then LSU. So our schedule down the line looked good, but you're just not coming back from 3-12.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was another fun thing about this weekend was crushing any hopes that Ole Miss had of making a run. But point taken.
Like you eliminated us. We were 2-10 going into the series.
We didn't start the door getting shut, but we slammed that son of a gun. But there's still a chance. There's still a chance that State can pull out some magic. Again, we're playing better baseball. We're coming into our own now. But you mentioned Florida. Did you see what was a crime? So real quick, Baxter, and I'll get your thoughts on it. Florida's playing baseball this past weekend. They had a big strikeout in a pivotal moment. Pitcher just does a fist pump. It's just not even a big.
Yeah, it was
It's just a little like
he did look at the visiting team's dugout when he did it, but
still.
that's not a crime.
It was just a little and a little bit of a celebration. Sure, he was looking at him, but I mean, again, the guy's momentum's carrying him that way. You know, there's things to be said. Playing Georgia, he hits a fist bump and gets run out of the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Well, then Florida's big hitter, Jack.
Not just a hitter. He's also their Saturday starter, Jack Caglione.
Jack Caglione, just phenomenal baseball player, big home run hitter, gets up and hits an absolute tank about 2 innings later. And as soon as he rounds third, goes stiff as a board and walks like a toy soldier, touches home plate, shakes hands,
no
runs
emotion.
to the dugout. No emotion whatsoever. It was an incredible celebration of a home run.
Yeah, I mean, nobody loves showing up umpires in ways that they cannot do anything about more than me.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost that. The most egregious celebration I've seen my whole time was the Mississippi State pitcher pulling the Michael Jackson and doing the splits coming off the mound after that big strikeout on Sunday, I think.
Incredible.
Yeah. He just hit the splits, man.
He hit that big fist bump and caught a wet spot in the field and hit the split. Yeah. Casey Hunt, man, it was incredible.
You know, a torn scrotum would not have made me feel bad, if I'm being honest.
But yeah. So one last topic, and we're going to get to the Grizz because they tip off in about 7 minutes. Drew, Arkansas social media keeps taking L.
I like this. I wanted to bring it up. Nobody loves participation trophies more than Arkansas.
And so over the last, what was that, yesterday they tweeted that out?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
They tweet out, so already they've tweeted out their participation ring from Omaha for just making it to Omaha last year. And then they tweet again from their Arkansas football account an icy video of their Liberty Bowl champion rings.
There's just not for the most rabid fan base, especially in baseball, like literally insane fan base. And there are many that they're competing with for that title.
Yes.
But I'd have to give them. I'd have to give them the nod right now for craziest. They are the craziest fan base.
Yeah.
And they have the most tone deaf social media Twitter account I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know, every one of those fans are just foaming at the mouth, wanting to tear the heads off of whoever tweeted that out.
Go through the comments. Most of the comments are from Arkansas fans, like with gifts of like handing money over, delete this right now. Like incredible comments and tweets. Like, what an embarrassment to the program that you keep tweeting out your participation trophies.
Yeah. And so, I mean, honestly, it's becoming like a trend. So
it's a tradition like no other.
Yeah. And so, also, I wanted to end it on something positive. ESPN FPI Football Power Index published their preseason top 30.
They did.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the 14 SEC teams are listed here.
Mm-hmm.
And at number 16 is your Ole Miss Rebels.
Mississippi State
portal king.
Mississippi State was 32nd, just outside the top.
Oh, really? Because, I mean, they really only listed 30 here. So, I guess you could have just said they were 31 and nobody would know any different. So
it's a new coach, new year, but that golden egg still resides in Starkville, baby.
Yeah, it does. It does reside in Starkville. So we'll see what happens going out. Another oh man, the NBA today is just taking a hit. In game 1, the Grizzlies be without Ja Morant. In game 2, the Milwaukee Bucks, also facing an 0-1 deficit, will be without Giannis.
No, Giannis.
So,
just got that notification. Giannis is out. We didn't talk about dirty Draymond Green stomping on Sabonis. I got a
quick
take on that. Sabonis grabs his ankle because he's protecting his face as this big old tennis shoe is coming down, and Draymond had enough wherewithal to feel that, raise up, and stomp with malicious intent. He did that 100% on purpose.
Yeah, I don't care if Domantas Sabonis grabbed his ankle intentionally. He let go of his ankle.
Yep.
Draymond Green, standing still, made a conscious decision to pick his leg up, smash it on his chest, and then use it as a trampoline to jump. Did you notice that? With his foot on his chest, he bends his knees and jumps off of him.
Yes.
I don't listen. You've got I can't stand it anymore. I cannot stand anymore. This righteous indignation that team has, despite having the goonest of goons on their team.
Yes.
You know, they hit us so hard, and nobody in Memphis defended Dylan Brooks last year.
No.
When he hit Jordan Poole, nobody in Memphis defended Dylan Brooks this season when he smacked Donovan Mitchell in the nuts.
No.
For no good reason.
No.
He was suspended for the next game both times, and everybody in Memphis agreed with it. The fact that Draymond Green can continue to do this, continue to get suspended, and then continue to think that everybody's out to get him is the most asinine thing I've ever heard in my life.
Couldn't agree more.
It is the it is the insane running the asylum. And it goes all the way up to their owner came out today. Bob Myers came out today. I'm sorry. Bob Myers is their GM. Came out today and basically said, "Yeah, we knew it was going to happen. They do this to us every time." And they don't even come up with good excuses anymore.
No.
Klay Thompson said, "What did you expect would happen when you grab a grown man's leg while he's running full speed?" Like Draymond Green wasn't standing still. when DeMontis Sabonis grabbed
and
his
the thing
ankle.
is, the national media is buying it because on all the talking head shows, they were like, "Well, this is going to be too much. He shouldn't be suspended," and blah 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 blah. But like, if you watch it over again, he stomped a man in the chest after kicking Steven Adams in the nuts a couple years ago. Sitting on, he sat on Sabonis the night before.
And this is what Golden State fans are about to realize. It's about to be enough because they were up 3-1 on the Cleveland Cavaliers when Draymond Green hits LeBron James in the nuts, and they lose. He was out for Game 6, which they lost to go to 3-2, and then they have to go back to Cleveland for Game 7, and it's the only time in NBA history, in the NBA Finals history, that a team has ever overcome a 3-1 deficit to win it. And it's because Draymond Green got suspended
100%.
because he could not keep a cool head. He punched him in the nuts or kicked him in the nuts, and it was over. And that was the start of the end for that team.
Yeah.
And then this year, they have never, in the Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson era, they have never been down in a playoff series 0-2. And that's what they're down. And now he is suspended again. This is the opportunity for him single-handedly to get suspended from the most important basketball games of their season.
Yeah.
Which will result in them losing. If they go down 3-0,
it's over.
I don't care who you're playing. I don't care that the Sacramento Kings hadn't been in the playoffs in 16 years. I don't care that you're the defending champs. You are not coming back from 3-0.
It's over. And like you said, biggest moments, biggest opportunities.
And he's up for a contract, I think. And he's saying he expects a max deal for a guy who's gotten kicked out and suspended for 2 playoff games.
No. And the Kings have all
the
confidence.
Punched his own teammate?
Yeah. The Kings have all the confidence in the world right now. They should. De'Aaron Fox is playing great. You've got Sabonis playing good basketball. You know, he's a game time decision with his bruised sternum. But, like, the Kings are playing good ball. The Warriors are not. I'm sure you saw their hype video that was primarily focused on the Memphis Grizzlies. You need to worry about what's in your own house instead of looking at here. We're living rent-free in your head, and you're down 0-2 to the Kings. Like,
yeah. And I can promise you, I mean, I'm pulling for you to lose, but I couldn't care less if what happens at your game.
Yeah. It's a bad look.
I'm paying attention for seeding and see who you possibly play in the next round. But don't get it twisted. I'm not losing sleep over any of this.
No. I don't care about Golden State until we play Golden State. But speaking of Uncle Buck, it's time to go watch him Grizz.
Yeah, I'm logging in now.
Grizz.
Hang up. Go Grizz. Grizz in 5. Grizz win by double digits tonight.
Don't panic, Grizz fans. We get you a win tonight. Stay with us. Big Memphis. Let's go, Grizz.
Ain't no running in the M.